She is a wife and mother to 3 children who were all born premature. Her son Aiden was born 34 weeks gestation. Her daughter London was born at 34 weeks gestation, and Jamie at 36. She created Glow Preemies to help support high-risk pregnant women and families with children in the NICU worldwide. Ashley is most passionate about helping people, especially improving the lives of babies born prematurely in the African American community, and providing support and safety net services for their families. She is currently reigning as the 2019 Mrs. California United America. She's the recipient of the 2017 Presidential Excellence Award for her hard work empowering minority mothers. She is currently serving a 3-year term as advisory board member for a multi-million-dollar racial disparity in the NICU research study with California Perinatal Quality Care Collaborative, based at Stanford Medical School. She is an author of many hospital publications. She is an active parent liaison and chairperson for the School Site Council at Fortune School of Education. She is also a pregnancy, labor, and delivery and post-pregnancy doula in home and in Methodist Hospital. She finds time to volunteer in areas where she can apply her passion and personal experience, such as working with the African American community, babies born premature, special needs populations, and in underserved areas. It is her desire to help others reach their fullest potential despite any personal challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, for the sake of time, we also want to hold all questions to the end. And let's give a warm welcome for Ashley Randolph.
Well, thanks everyone, and thank you all for what you do. I will make it very fast, 45-minute presentation in about 10 minutes. I'm excited to be your guide. My name is Ashley Randolph. I have been creating and teaching presentations for 5 years. I'm a mother of 3 children born premature. Aiden is 8, 34 weeks gestation. London 5, 34 weeks gestation. Jamie is 4, and my water bag started leaking at 26 weeks. I signed myself out of the hospital at 30 weeks and gave birth to her at 36 weeks. I suffered severe HG with all 3 of them, and I lost 30 pounds with each pregnancy, and I was bedridden for all 3. I am also the founder of Glow Preemies, which stands for God Little Ones. So these are some facts that a lot of the speakers before me already went over. Prematurity is the leading killer of America's newborns, and those who survive often have lifelong health problems. Babies born extremely early, between 24 and 34 weeks, suffer the greatest burden of death, complications, and disabilities. In 2016, the national rate of preterm birth among African American women was 14%, and was about 50% higher than the rate of preterm birth among white counterparts at 9%. There's no reason why people have early birth. You can have all the great care and you can still have your child early. In my situation, they have no idea why. I was so premature. I had preterm labor with all 3 children starting at 4.5 months. So when I see these 2 pictures, I think of the last 8 years of my life. Every day, similar to this picture, I would wait for the moment for me to hold one of my children in my arms. And it almost seems like it was a fight every day. I had to prepare myself to get up in the morning, go to the hospital, and hopefully here you could hold your baby today. Some days, there were days where my kids were under the belly light, and I wasn't able to hold them or touch them, which is very traumatic for any parent. Family trauma. So as mentioned earlier, we were talking about a great support system and how important it is for any family in the NICU. And I want to applaud all of you, because once you guys support us as parents, we are able to not have any barriers, not turn to PTSD or opioids or any kind of drug or alcoholism. And we are able to feel supportive, have confidence to be there with our child in the NICU, be able to bond with them, establish our parenting role as a parent now of a smaller child. Our physical needs will be met have great bonding with our baby, and it all starts with the nurses. How it affects the family then and now. 60% of NICU parents are at risk for PTSD after 4 weeks of a NICU admission. Depression, fear, grief, helplessness, and continuing anxiety can last for years after. My preemie is 10 years old and doing fabulously. His premature birth changed my life forever. It honestly took years before the trauma of our experience waned. Allow yourself to grieve, as a premature birth is devastating. People who minimize the situation just do not understand. That was from Marie. She was someone that was in our support group. Scholars sign of a traumatic birth experience. So for me, I work at a school too. So it's important for me to understand what signs to look for when a child has their first year of school in kindergarten or first grade. So we look for hyperactivity, attention problems, anxiety, depression, social problems, or communication skills. If you have a family that has been affected by a NICU birth, or premature birth, understand their background, offer parent support, and make timely referrals. Help parents feel comfortable with letting you know that their child was born prematurely, to find the right interventions early will better assist the family. Sensory complications, attention problems, anxiety, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. So this is my fun part, I like this one. So, as she has spoken about, parents usually have anxiety after they leave the NICU with their child. Well, I'm a 3-time NICU mom, so that means I'm just a little bit higher than the normal. This year, I have a bright 8-year-old son. He was in 2nd grade at the time, so we had to skip him mid-year. He was in a 2nd grade class that had a lot of sensory going on. So we had a lot of bright lights, a lot of kids who were not sitting down talking a lot. And because of him being in the NICU, he felt like home. So all of a sudden, this wonderful child who usually sits there all day and get A's is going crazy. He feels like he's at home now and he wants to join the crowd. So I immediately went into panic mode. Uh-oh, this is a trigger. What's going on with my son? I started worrying. Then I turned into my belief system and I started praying. And then I said, okay, let me see what's really going on. So I took time with him in his classroom. That's where I became over controlled. Hey, you sit down, what are you doing? And then I stepped back and I said, wait, this is almost as similar as him in the NICU. He has all these bright lights, he hears all these noises, there's people coming in and out the door. Maybe this is a comfort zone to him because he's acting like he would if he was at home with me. So we took him out of that environment and we took a test and he got a 7th grade actually reading and math level after he took a test. So we moved him to 3rd grade. We took him out of the environment that was so chaotic, and now he's doing wonderful. He's the top 2% in California right now for 3rd graders. So it all starts with learning attention problems, anxiety, and hyperactivity for the children as they get older. So from the ages of 0 to 5, you NICU nurses and the doctors, and also community resources are really important to us as families so that we don't have a depression and a meltdown, a cycle of anxiety when our kids have these issues in school the first 2 years. This is about suspension rates for African American children that were born premature. So this is what happens when we leave you guys. We are punishing students who can't help their circumstances. Black and Hispanic males have the highest suspension rates in California from kindergarten to 12th grade. California overall suspension, 3.6%. Out of just the black males, 12.8% of them are suspended. Black males, grade level K through 3, violent incidents, they're suspended for 23% of those. 64% of kindergarten through 3rd graders are suspended for non-injury incidents. Now this is something that I found fascinating. In Sacramento, 2010, there was 1,784 NICU cases in Sacramento. The same age of those kids when they first attend school their first year, 1,859 kids were suspended. So that lets me know that the percentages, the numbers are really close together, and there's a high chance of those kids that got suspended their first year of school were premature.
Mhm.
I also looked up Fresno in California. 1,949 kids were born premature that year. The suspension rates for their first year of school was 1,650 kids suspended. Can you imagine your kindergarten getting suspended from school? I went to college here. I went to Xavier University in Tulane. So it was important for me coming back here to speak to put a low fact about Louisiana. So Orleans Parish is 11.9%, Lafayette 11.6%, East Baton Rouge 12.3%, and Tidal 17% of babies are born premature in 2017. Louisiana has the second highest rate of premature birth in the country, and one of the factors that earned the state a failing grade in the March of Dimes 2017 premature birth report card. Louisiana is one of only 4 states where the premature birth rate is 11.5% or higher. The preterm birth rate report card also suggests that disparities in rates among racial and ethnic groups are widening throughout our country. Overall, the rate of preterm birth is 49% higher in Black women than among all other groups. What can an educator do? It takes a village. Community leaders, advocates for families and youth, provide resources, understand trauma and how it can begin as early as a negative birthing experience, always have an open door policy, intervene at first instance of possible need for resources, and get to know your client and their culture. Collaborate, join or start a hospital or school group meeting, communicate frequently, continue to seek alternatives as punishment for bad behavior, and invite former NICU parents to volunteer in the hospital. Every healthcare employee has a significant impact on how patients and their families feel about their healthcare experience. Healthcare nurses and physicians can be the first individuals to notice a problem, refer resources, and are able to provide a great start to our child's future. Some suspensions are not for misbehaviors on the student, but rather a misjudgment on part of the educator. All staff should receive continuous professional development and unconscious bias and understanding lifetime trauma that happens with a birthing experience. Black boys in early childhood are 5.6 times more likely to be suspended than the California state average. Educators should turn to counseling-based interventions, greater involvement from the family, and individualized behavior interventions and other in-school strategies. Together, we can all keep all students in school. And there's no
Questions? We have time for 1 or 2 questions. Thank you.
Thank you.